Okay. This morning, our class is the history of women in print advertising. Our presenter is Star Carey. Star is an emeritus marketing professor at Our Lady of the Lake University. His PhD in marketing is from the University of Texas in Austin. He is taught at UTSA and the George Washington University. He and his wife Sandy have given seminars in Australia, China, and Croatia. So welcome, Star.
Hi, Brenda. Hi, everybody. It's a beautiful day in Texas. Marketing is a large field that involves a whole lot of different things. Part of it's promotion, and then part of that is advertising. When you tell people you're in marketing, the first thing you ever hear from them is, I saw this great ad. Well, marketing's a whole lot more than just advertising, but since it's the part that people pay most attention to, and it's kind of fun, we're going to talk about it. As I taught the class, you would see over a period of time that women were portrayed in different ways. So this is going to go back. There'll be hardly anything here in the last 20 years. It's going to be how it got started and how it's changed over time. So we'll take a look at a couple of them. This one shows a bank in New York back in the old days. And maybe you can see right there, it's a ladies' teller. So you had the teller, the main tellers were straight in where the front door is over here, and the men would go straight to there. The women would be pushed over to the side and over here because they of course had trouble with numbers and difficulty just understanding the basics of finance. So they had people there that would talk slower and use smaller words, and the women then could be properly cared for as customers. Now, then we have people think about women as in being stereotypical. So if there it is. So this is in a plumber's magazine. And the idea is that, look, if she's going to put in the faucet and then she says, oh, I want something more, well, then you can make some money from it. So here's a way that you can make money from women's indecision. The next one, showing the Navy, is a problem. If any of you have a background in the Navy, what do you see as a difficulty? No, it's not that there's a woman in the uniform. It's not that the Dixie cup doesn't fit right. It is the rank is on the wrong side. In the Navy, the enlisted wear their rank on the left side. So now we already know that she's a teenage girl. She can't possibly be a petty officer first class, which is what the rank shows. But we know it's not. I mean, how is it so hard to have somebody take a look at the ad before it's published? You ought to be able to catch on to the fact that's a mistake. This was not from the National Organization for Women. This was another group, but isn't that an interesting headline? This one comes from a friend of mine was in the insurance business. And this was how they determined whether women would be qualified to get it. Now notice an unacceptable driver would be their number 7, more than 2 drunk driving there. But number 9, not more than 1, if female. You see, so men could have 2 drunk driving, women could only have 1, which I find odd because we all know that women outdrink men. Now, the question is, by how much do women outdrink men? And we have it in our advertising. We find out that it's by a ratio of 4 to 1. You see that? I mean, this is their perfect day. She's got her 4, he's got his 1. And so they're going to just have a wonderful time together with their Bristol cream. Now, we will be having, as we go on, different awards will be given. Roxanne is our librarian here at Canyon Lake, and she will be retiring shortly. And so these awards will be called Roxy's in her honor. And so we have the first award winner as the most deplorable. Can you read it, Abigail? Okay, good. All right, so that's how that qualifies for that. We often see women in various positions. We've seen this before. And you see, what happens is that if you're a model, in most cases, you have to be young and attractive. That is not true of men. So you see, we have 4 ugly guys and 1 pretty girl, and that's pretty much how the ratio goes. We now have, I'm now going to show you the best ad that you're going to see. I know it's probably out of sequence, but I think just to get you all in the mood. And so this is the Roxy for the best ad. Let's talk about it. Why is it good? All right, so what is happening here? This guy is 22 years old. He's just gone through what used to be called platoon leaders class, maybe it still is, in Quantico with the Marines. He's gone through 3 months of just awful, awful things. But the reason he did it was so that he could have a blonde here. All right. So that's what you do. That's your goal, is not to be a lieutenant. The idea is to get the blonde. Now, of course, we all want blondes, but blondes are easy to attain. You see the color of the roots. So we'll, pardon for the meow market moment here. All right, now here's it. Now, when this is done, you have to lay it up just properly. Of course, she's in black because the attention cannot be to her. The attention must be on him and the long hair. So she just blends in by wearing black. Look at the difference. Now, one of those, I guarantee you, one of these 2 people is on a platform because their size has to be right. That is, her head has to be just below where that gold is up there. Now, unless they're really lucky, this is not their natural height. Now, what we have here, now she's putting the gold bar on. Now try that sometime. That is, get up close to somebody, hold them like that, and see if they can bring their arms around to do that. You can't do it. She's either double jointed or that's been retouched. I don't know what it was they did. Now here's the other thing. We got the long hair, but what about her face? What does she look like? Well, she looks like how he wants her to look. So she either has brown eyes, blue eyes, gray, hazel eyes. She has a big nose. She has a cute little nose. She has big lips, little lips. We don't know. We build her. Why don't we see his face? Because if we saw his face, then it wouldn't be your face. And that's the idea. You join the Marines, you go through all this stuff, and there at the gate at Quantico is your blonde. That's why this is the best ad. And it only ran once. I don't understand it. Now, how do women attract men? Okay. People that think you get dressed up, you wear fancy clothes and stuff. No, you learn to type. This is what men, look at this. Look how all the guys are gathering around the woman to type. And see, and it's all men. Old men, young men, black men, white men, doesn't matter. When we see a woman typing, it's irresistible. Look at the relationship between the 2 of them. He is sitting on her desk, which means, of course, he's the boss. He's looking out at us. She's looking at him. That's because his whole world is the world. Her whole world is him. She has worked for him, you want to guess how long? What, 20 years? Yeah, maybe longer. He's not even positive of her last name. He has some other secretary remind him of her birthday. So this is how she's lived. Her world is him. His world is the world. And we see that in other cases. So not just one company. Other companies do the same thing. All right. Now, when we see women in these kinds of ads, and they're there to support what men are doing. If I, for example, told you I went to the dentist and she told me about my molars, you would be, oh, your dentist is a woman. And what if I told you that the tech was a male? So you would be surprised at that. So when we see advertising, then this is what we usually see because this is how life is. Now, the question is, what should advertisers do? Should they, because wouldn't it be nice to show a female dentist and a male technician as what some would say a more ideal or more balanced world? Well, then that's not how the world is. So is it the advertiser's job to show or depict a situation which shows balance or to show how life actually is? You know, they have conversations about this and they talk about it and they chose to go this way. But we see it all the time. Men are out there, they're doing stuff, they're active. What is a woman's job? To light his cigarette. He's an athlete. She's lighting a cigarette. Every woman who's watching this has gone through this, have gone to a baseball game with a guy and they were bored stiff. Because there's nothing more boring than baseball. It takes forever to do something. So of course she smokes. And so she's got to sit there the whole thing. Does he ever go to her game? Of course not. That's not how it works. Now we see the put together. Here's one. They're trying to sell you airplanes. Okay. So what do we got? We got the men at work here. See, they're doing all that other stuff. And we can tell that there's a male pilot, co-pilot up there. So what are the women doing? One of them's getting coffee and one of them's putting on makeup in the back. That's it. That's their total participation in this. Oh, this was one of the West Winds. Then they had a follow-up to it. They had about 6 months later, they ran this one. All right, so we still got the same company, same got and stuff like that. Okay, now the men are tired. Oh man, this meeting was tough. Oh, I got to take a nap. I'm taking a nap. A couple of them are still working, and so they're still working. The woman is taking notes, or she's washing the dishes, or some of them take forever. She's still putting on her makeup. Here's one from overseas. This is one of the ones we talked about the trips that Sandy and I have taken. This is it when they have for larger ladies. Now, for a larger lady, Nancy Reagan would be considered obese in some places of China. So they have a whole different standards. But see that? So you're above average. Hey, and does that make you feel good? Now, this is how they measured the women for whether they were above average. Yes. So you can then be the House of Beauty, and that all means something. I don't know what it was, but I just found that interesting. But now we have that here in the U.S. We have places, and that's kind of nice. Now that's for the fuller figure. But maybe some of you remember back in the old days, we had another company that advertised clothes for what would be fuller figure for younger women. Anybody remember Chubettes? Oh, me. Yes, indeed. So this is supposedly a young lady that's a little bit heavy, and so they have special clothes for her. So you can have a tummy and you still look yummy. Now, I don't see the tummy. Now, of course, now I've not really studied anatomy very much, but it doesn't look to me like she's very big. Now, they ran a second ad, and this one gave her a little bit more of that. And it would make you feel better because there is not clothing for the slightly overweight young girls. And this way they have a product which can be used by them. Now we see how they're depicted. They're getting ready to move, and the packer is there. They make a point so we know that it's Allied Van Lines down here, and it's got their emblem up here, and they've got the men doing the packing. Now every woman that's ever moved has learned a lesson, and that is never use men to do your packing. Okay, picking up the piano and taking it out, that's fine. But wrapping up your china, get a woman. Now, but that's not the point of what I'm getting at. It's let's look at the woman. What is she doing? She's obviously the lady of the house. Now, the husband is off working, so it's her job to do it. Now, she's not taking it too serious because she's drinking her coffee. But look what she's doing with her daughter. Look how she's training her daughter. The hand of the woman, of the mother, is not on the the little girl's shoulder, which would be affection. It is flat on her chest, which is don't get in the man's way. That's what we do. We not only just watch men working, but we don't interfere with the work that the men are doing. That's how we teach our little girls. Now, let's say it's later. Now, let's say this little girl is grown up and she's got a job, and she comes home and this is what she's facing. The husband's got something ripped. She's done something wrong. He wants to show off all that, and she's pooped. The implication being is that it's just too much. Women have too much going on. They can't possibly keep it up. She couldn't wait to get her shoes off. There's her briefcase. Do you remember when people carried briefcases and attaché cases? I can remember attaché cases were a present to graduates from MBA programs from relatives. So that was not good. But then they got a little bit better on life insurance ads, and they showed the different things. Now you've heard about, because you want to look attractive before, you've heard of rhinoplasty. This is a person that really does it. I mean, look at that. You come in looking like one and you go out looking like the other. Here's an ad for a WBAP. You probably recognize that's a Fort Worth station. So they're showing you that this was in Texas Monthly, I believe, that they have a bunch of women working there. Now, how do you know which one is the on-the-air person that you go through there? And you can tell right away it must be she, because she's the one who most recently washed her hair. Remember Fox Photo? They were all through Texas. This is, back here, there's a food city or food fair. I can't remember what it is. This is a small strip center off of Hillcrest, south of 410. So there's the guy that owns Fox Photo, and here is an ad. I'm going to show you the next picture to show you the ad in action. So who do you have here as the person doing the clerk? Of course, it's a blonde. So you hire the blonde to be the model to make the ad. Now, what happens if somebody wants to drop off their photos? Do you remember when you had photos developed? You would drop it off, or you would come to pick it up. Well, off to the side, we have this woman over here. So you have the ad being up here. You see, here's all the reflectors that are necessary to work the ad. So they moved her over, the real worker, over into the shade. And of course, she is a brunette. We started with manned collection center. One of the reasons I want to show you this is really special. This is the Roxy Award for Best Logo. What's so good about it? Goodwill, it's the G, and it's half a smiley. It's amazing how many people have seen this G and not recognized it as half a smiley. But this is one of the great logos of all time. And that's up there with some of the great sayings of all time. When you care enough to say it, send the very best. For the skin you love to touch, there's a Ford in your future, so on. All right, anyway, back to what we're talking about. Now this is a manned collection center, just like we're used to men being portrayed that way. We always say, the sign on the highway, men working, which now has been changed. All right, so Goodwill decided to update themselves a little bit, and so they went to attended. Oh, that's kind of nice. A little bit of something there, a little something else. And then we went from there to just on duty. There are a couple of things about this. First off, you're wondering what kind of a guy drives around all the time taking pictures of trailers, and that would be people who teach marketing. So that answers that question. And the other that is Sandy coming out of the Goodwill Collection Center after she has turned in 3 of my best suits. Okay, now we have a man on the move. Hey, now this is how you can tell the man is on the move, although he's sitting, but nonetheless. Now he's got, you're going to schedule stuff. You got to scheduleize, don't you love scheduleize? And so there's magnet. So what you do is you move stuff along this screen as you progress. Now, guys have trouble doing that on their own. So it takes a secretary. Now, what he's saying is move the red button 2 inches to the right. Now, this is an awful lot for a woman to remember. So therefore, she has to write it down. Let's see, now move 2 inches to the right. And then she goes and does it. So she does. All right, so that's the first one. Then we have the series. Now, the series moves on. Now, we have a man on the move. Of course, we're going to keep the man on the move. But guess what? Men have learned that they can move buttons themselves. Look at that. Doesn't require, but now we still scheduleize. Now they're having some trouble with this. See, they got some pushback on man on the move. And they said, well, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. So what they did was they got rid of man on the move. Now they bring scheduleize all the way up. See, we don't talk about men at all. But here's even something more interesting. We learned that men can move buttons on their own while a woman watches. All right, so if we're going to make a change, here's how we do it. We can buy life insurance from Wood. Isn't that nice? They're saying that's what they're going to do. The next one is an award for best casting. Roxy for that. She is perfect. As we're building into women doing business, look at that. Look at how she is dressed. She's got the glasses, meaning that she's serious. She doesn't have an open smile. She has a pleasant smile. She looks rather, it's really good. This woman is perfect for what they were trying to say at that time. And we still see women move into business. This is for IBM. We still have the women doing the secretary work. Now, so the executives are over here because they don't have a typewriter and they have a dictating machine down here. So we've moved a black man in, we've moved a white woman in, but it's okay, guys. We still have a white guy in charge overall. And you know he's in charge because he's the one that's farthest from the secretarial pool. All right, so that's what they did. But IBM could not resist this. They had to put the flowers on her desk. Isn't that sweet? Oh my God. She's still our little girl. Yep. Okay. And it shows women traveling on their own. And yes, you can do that on your own if that's what you want to do. You also are now in a new position. You can tell if you do anything about aviation, that's probably Boeing 727 because of the 3 engines. She says in charge. Is she in charge? Not really. She's in the right seat. The person in charge is in the left seat. But only marketing professors get that petty. I love this one. This one really takes over. She's in charge. She's the one who, what do we have? We got this guy as a messenger, so he's not near at her level. She's signing that. Now, look at this. Okay, now she's got a white guy and a male as a pilot. Now, they're running late, but notice he doesn't look at his watch in front of her. That's the put down. If you're talking to somebody and the conversation's going on, and then you look at your watch and they can see you look at your watch, that's that. No, this guy is running late, but he's not about to tell her because she's the boss and he's got to work it out. Okay, this is going longer than I thought. Now, what am I going to do? How am I going to get to Topeka in time? And he's not interfering with her being in charge. Then we also found that women at work, you could tell how, look at that machine. When did you see one of those last? Anyway, so obviously she is the boss there. But look at this, men can bring the coffee. But you see what they did, the agency, they cut off his face. This is too embarrassing, people. I mean, his friends are going to see him bringing the coffee. You can't do that. So you get a guy and you say, no, I promise, nobody will know who you are. All you do is you do that. Look at that. I'll give you proof. I'll give you the ads and stuff. No. So he feels safe that he's not going to be discovered. Okay. This is the most wondrous of all. This gets a special Roxy. This is Heather Johnson. Heather Johnson, Johnsen, who was the first sentinel at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. Some of you have seen the talk that I've given about this. This was about 10 years ago. When I was there more than 10 years ago, we could not figure a way to get a woman in as a sentinel because it's the old guard, it's infantry, women were not allowed into infantry. Some smart person came up with the idea, how? This is how you do it. Different organizations are attached to the infantry, sometimes artillery, sometimes quartermaster, but sometimes military police. At that time, military police could be, had women. As a matter of fact, 20% of the military police at Desert Storm were female. So therefore, they got military police. How do we know she's military police? All you MPs recognize this. This is I was an MP, this is our regimental crest. So she is an MP, she's attached. How do you know she's not in the old guard? Well, she's not wearing the aiguillette and she's not wearing the buff strap, which you'll see later that that's what she's doing. You'll also see that she's no rank. I know that she's a sergeant, but she doesn't show a rank. We know that in the Army, your name plate is right there. We don't show the name. Sentinels do not show rank. Sentinels do not show their name. The Sergeant of the Guard does not show name, but does show rank. But the Sentinels do not. And the reason for that is because they're representing the entire Army. She's there. If we know her name and if we know her rank, then we know something about her individual. She's not there as an individual. She is there representing the entire United States Army, protecting the tomb of the unknown soldier. This is a beautifully done ad, and it's wonderful when women first out. If you're in the observation area, when a female comes out, it goes through the group. You just hear it. See, because otherwise, it had to be silent. The sergeant guard told him to be quiet. And here's what you hear. It's a girl. It's a girl. Yeah, they say girl. It's a girl. And what that does for the little girls there is wonderful for them to see it. Well, now it's different. See, now women can be in the infantry. If you watched RBG's funeral, then you saw the way the escorts go. Just a reminder of the escorts, if it's a multi-service, Army front left, Marines front right, and then it works its way back from there because it's senior service and so on. Then the officer, unless it's a specific service member, the officer is always Army, And in this case, it was a black female. And the way we knew that she was in the old guard is up here, commissioned officers wear the color of their branch. So MPs wear green, infantry wears a light blue. It's a pretty blue. And she had on the light blue. So we've gone a long way. See, in 10 years, we went from having them be sentinels and not really in, and now we've got them really in the infantry. And more than one has finished Ranger School, which is really tough. And then we've got to have another award for the funniest. This is great. Roxy for this one. I love that. Okay, now, on the ad here for the Lily of France, the underwear that you're wearing is that while you may be doing business work, you can make business a pleasure. You can wear frilly things like that. You can still be female and feminine and be at work. Notice what a change in her hair from being that to being this. So it's a lot more than what she's wearing here and here. It is what happens with her hair, which leads us to the Roxy for the most talked about campaign. I dreamed I was a blank in my maiden form bra. This ran for 20 years. I dreamed I was a pirate. I was an artist. I was a construction worker, and always the same. Had regular clothes on, had accoutrements of what it was that she would be wearing, but it always just had the bra on it. This ran 20 years, this series ran. This particular ad is 1960. And the guy that did it is Norman B. Norman. He was the head guy of a rather influential agency back at that time. Most of them had bought out and sold it. Anyway, it was so clever, this, and it worked so well. And it tore the market up. Maiden form had all kinds of sales. Now you're wondering if women actually wore that. And the answer is yes. This is from an annual report of USAA. This is a worker at USAA, and she has on the same kind. Now, folks, maybe you remember that these bras were really pointed. We're talking sharpened #2 pencils. That's what we're talking about. And now, if that's what they're going to wear, then that could cause problems. There could be difficulty if that's what happens. And here's the difficulty. This gets an award for Best Director. Roxy to this one. What have we got here? We've got, let's say, the senior prom. This is just, now, where are our arms? So this is the difficulty you're going to have. If you've got that pointed bra on, and it's properly filled in, then when it goes up against his coat, then it's going to crush the cigarette pack, which is not a box. So that's what's going to happen. Now, let's talk about everything. We're back again on the height. Remember I told you these heights have to be done. I'm pretty sure one of them is on a platform because these have to line up like that. Then her arms have to be up here because if her arms are around his waist, then we don't see the difficulty that the cigarette's having. So this has to go up here. Look at all the stuff around. It's a beautiful setting, lots of nice scenery. But the reason it gets the award is the look on his face. Oh, that is beautiful. Now, first off, we assume he's a teenager, don't we? You can't do that. This guy could be older. Remember how old Olivia Newton-John was when she made Grease? She was 28. She turned 29 during a filming of Grease, and yet she played 17-year-old Sandy. So we don't know how old this guy is. But that look, have you ever been in a situation where there's something you've always wanted and you've got, this is the head cheerleader. This is the one. And this, to describe her properly, she is Texas pretty. Yeah, if I tell you someone is Texas pretty, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is a category. There, for example, is no such thing as Oklahoma pretty. It just doesn't happen. Okay, so that's what so therefore they have to be lined up just properly in order for that to come up. So if you've been in a situation where there's something you've always wanted and you got it, then you didn't know what to do with it. Look at that look. Now what? Oh my gosh, I've got her right here. Somebody tell me what's next. So that's what I mean about the best director. Somehow or other, that director got that look out of that guy. Beautifully done. You deserve the award. Here's a guy. He's in a bar, and pretty girl comes up, sits next to him, and he changes from just any old Scotch to Chivas. Let's discuss what this situation is. Here we have the bar's empty. We're pretty sure of that because there's nobody else. So she comes up and she sits next to him. Now, you know she's interested because she comes in face forward. If you're sitting next to somebody you don't know, you back into the stool. But she came straight in. Now, look at her eyes. There. Where are her eyes going? To there. Right? Is there a wedding ring? Now, even if there was a wedding ring, it wouldn't matter. I have a feeling. I don't know this girl, but I have a feeling it wouldn't matter. Or if there's just a little green stain where he took it off. But look what happens. He becomes just an ordinary Bubba into suave and debonair, all in 3 frames just because, oh, and we know she's interested because she didn't put the purse over as a block. If the purse had been over here, it would have been a blocking agent, but she didn't. And she's looking at it. So she is definitely interested. But look what happened. In just 3 frames, this guy went from being an Aggie to a Longhorn. Is there a back way out of here? Okay, here's a pantyhose ad. We assume a pantyhose ad is going to be sexy. Not necessarily. Not all pantyhose ads are sexy. They can be different things. How we show differences. Look at what Evan Williams will do for you. You start off on the left and you become the one on the right. Now, I talked to the guy that knew the agency that had it, and they said, yes, this is the same lady. What we used to look for in changes in people are ears and eyebrows. That is, they'll have noses fixed and other parts, but our eyebrows are the same. The eyebrows are consistent, one with the other. We can't see the ears, but this guy swore it was the same thing. So now, and of course, it'd be just fine because as we know from the past, if you get 4 bottles of Harvey's Bristol Cream or 1 bottle of Evan Williams, this is how you can be. Yeah. Or you can use it in order to encourage activity. That's what Will Schmidt does. Now, here was a series that they started off with. This was this Piper Scotch, which I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to go back to this. Get a feeling for it. We have Piper Scotch up here. We have this down here. We have that down there, and a scene. They didn't like that. They thought it ought to be a little sexier than that, so they went to this. You see the same. See the Scotch up on the top. It's made for weekends like this. They back and forth, and they stayed with that. And they thought that that made it better, and that does. That has a greater impact. This is dull. That's boring. But this is special. And then we have the same thing here. This was a series that they did. They did that, and then, okay, what did I do there? This is nice. This is a wholesome young lady. This is nice. But then they thought, no, we want to say something more, so they went to this. Now we still have Lord and Lady. See, we have just the color is the liquor. The other is, oh no. Is that so? That. Now, let's talk about her. This is ideal. Now, see, there's a little bit showing here, a little bit lower on the blouse, a little bit showing here too, but look in a different way. First off, there is the way she looks. Now, when you look up there at her hair on her forehead, you see a couple of strands are just off the side. That was absolutely planned. That was not an accident. There was somebody out there, and they were moving each individual one to go over the other one. And now, what kind of, she's a lady. I mean, you can tell she's a lady. This is a classy lady. But there's a wild side. You see, this is up in the air. There's something more here. There's something that would encourage you to want to get to know her better. Well, enough of that, of the nice, let's get to the sluts. I'm not very, this is an old ad, and I'm really hoping this is not your aunt. But anyway, this shows you what it is. But here's the problem. What kind of a caddy is she? You don't hand the club the head first. That's not how we do it. And now we have this. Some of you are going to remember this. This is the Ivory Snow box. And who's on it? Marilyn Chambers. There were two of the most famous ones that got started. One had Linda Lovelace. The other had, these were the earlier pornograph movies. And she was in this, and hers was Behind the Green Door. Now, this is what happened. They used her for this ad. Now, how, you tell me, do you see from that woman, this woman? I don't see it. I don't make that connection. When somebody has their eyes closed, it's really tough. But everything about it, see, she's not smiling there, back and forth. Anyway, Ivory Snow, that was it. They were so embarrassed by that, that after that, they made it just all painted. But see, isn't that beautiful? Ivory Snow, you know what they used to advertise? Remember, 99 and 44, 100% pure Ivory Snow. It's got Marilyn Chambers. Oh, they were just really upset about that. Okay. Some people think statistics can be boring, but not Penthouse. They think that it can be better shown. This you're American, where we are. If you're from San Antonio, this is near this is before the Alamo Dome, but it's that cutoff that you go there up towards 35. So this is what the ad is. This is all totally distorted. Look at that. Her feet are bigger than her head. See, her 3/4 of her body is legs. See, that's way out of proportion, but it did give a message. But that got started, and that was a Trailblazer ad. Another Roxy here for that. Because then that became this. They paid extra for this. In the old days, this used to be called an embellishment. You pay more for it to go out. And so Southwest used that, and then they used this also, which will then remind us of the series that women found most offensive. The Roxy for that is this one. Me. National Airlines. It was, I'm Sally, fly me. And women got really upset about that. So National Airlines, which then merged with Pan Am, and then that all went away. They were on the East Coast. And their symbol was the sun down below, because we would go from New York to Florida. So they got upset about that. So then they toned it down a little. So then they said, oh, no. Now what we really mean is that Eileen is the plane. You fly Eileen, you don't fly me. What kind of a dirty mind you have? That's what it is. Women were still upset. You just can't please them. So they finally had to just go to this and dropped off into just what that was. So now we go through all this, and how do women feel about it? About how men have treated them in advertising and in life. And every now and then you see an ad which can be symbolic of how sometimes women feel about men. Okay, now what we're going to do is we got two videos. I have to set this up. This one is for the Budweiser Institute. What they're going to do is to show activities that Budweiser has come up with in order to allow men to have a time away from the women in their lives so that they can enjoy themselves. So Budweiser came up with activities to get women involved in activities which would keep them occupied and away from what men were doing. Okay. And, Brenda, we're not getting the thing, are we? Okay. It didn't go, what it showed was that Budweiser initially invented the Tupperware party. See, and they had a bunch of women doing that while the guys got off. Budweiser invented the internet, so women would do the shopping. They invented the soap operas so that men were doing that. And so then men could drink the beer and some other things. Okay, so then we'll go back to this, and do we have any questions or comments or anything anybody want to say?
Okay, Star, is that the end?
Yeah, I know one person's trying.
Can you hear me, Star?
Yes, I hear you, Abigail.
Sorry, I was having trouble getting the mouse over the mute, unmute button. I wanted to ask you what kind of ranks as the top most popular or most memorable ads with, marketing ads with women or for women's products.
Wow. You know what? I'm going to ask you what you think. as the ones that affected you, which one got to you most?
Well, when you know, there are some that come to mind for me, but uh, they weren't necessarily focused on women, you know, appealing to women. Like I think to this day about some of the morning coffee commercials, and I can still hear the jingles, for example. And I also think, you know, in more recent years, a lot of the Super Bowl ads have become so popular. And when you mentioned Budweiser, that the Budweiser Clydesdales came to mind, but they appealed so broadly, I think, because of their just appeal to, you know, clean American fun. And, you know, just, it was interesting. It was always an interesting parallel between a beer company and the message that they were sending in their ads.
Mm-hmm. Notice, folks, that the reason I didn't answer that was because how she started off. She said, "What do you think?" And then she went on from there. Marketers do not think. When marketers start thinking, they get in trouble. We have to base it on what the research says. So how I feel about an ad is not relevant. It's how do they feel on the other side of that curtain. Which one is effective? Now, Abigail mentioned the Budweiser ad. We love the Budweiser ads, but does it sell beer? Hey, people like that. They say, "Oh, come and look. And isn't that cute, the way the little dog remembered the horse from 5 years ago? Didn't we enjoy that?" There are lots of things, that pleasurable things we get out of them, and advertising that we like. And so you'll have somebody talk about their favorite ad, and I'll hear that all along. United Airlines used to have one that said, "Take me along." And it showed a guy going off to work and leaving his wife. And then she sang the song, "Take Me Along." And that was fun. And so Sandy and I would do that. If I was going somewhere, and then sometimes she would sing that. So I would say, "Yeah, that's a nice song. What was the airline?" She didn't remember the airline. See? And so some of the jingles don't associate with increased sales. Some of them do, because people remember it. You'll wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth with Pepsodent. Then you had a line that involved that. You do have effective ads that are like that, but for the ones that have been most effective, I just have to say that over a period of time, the one that I showed, the Maidenform, was for 20 years, Maidenform owned the bra market. They don't anymore, and they don't have the same, they're still existing, and they still sell a lot. It's just not the same. Does it turn into increased sales? And does it go from there? It's the same with your political ads that we're seeing now. Some of them are really fun, but do they move you to vote? Do they move you to get out? So the answer to what is the best advertising for women that's ever been seen, it's whatever each one of you says. That's the one.
I do remember the Calgon commercials, the Calgon Take Me Away. I remember those from when I was young, and the ones with Marge for Palmolive dishwashing liquid, those are two that really stick out in my mind.
Yes, yep. And Flo does now.
Yes.
Flo for Progressive is seen a lot, and they kept her a long time. And they're every now and then you think they're fading her out, but no, then she comes back once more. And Lucy with AT&T. Sound familiar to anybody? She is really good. And she has great facial expressions. And she's done, they really like her. They've done a lot of tests on what the performance was and whether the sales increased. And they did. People like her, people trust her. And so they believe in the product because they believe in her. She seems real.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Well, if no one has any other questions, we'll thank Star for coming out today. Thank you for doing the Zoom class, and everybody have a wonderful afternoon.
And don't forget to support your local library.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Steve. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Barnes.